Good morning, traders. Today is Wednesday, July 13th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. All right, well, unfortunately, the overnight made the move that I was calling for at the end of the day yesterday. I was looking for us to head down and test that balance area low because we poked back into the balance area yesterday and we closed inside that previous balance area. So that, of course, increased the odds that we were going to head down to the opposite end of balance, looking for support down here. And then when that CPI news came out in the overnight, that is exactly where they went. So unfortunately, that doesn't give us tons of insights moving into the morning here. If they hadn't have gotten there, I would have just said go short and target that level. But now that they have, that does count as testing the opposite end of balance. So in my mind, we're looking at a potential rotational day here today. Okay, so first order of business is the gap down. So the market should look for a counter auction to the upside to try to fill that gap. However, gaps this large often don't fill on the first day. So the odds of us making it all the way back up to yesterday's low are a little bit lower than we would normally expect on a day where we got a gap. So we may not make it to yesterday's low, which would create a gap and go scenario. A gap and go scenario would be bearish for further downside continuation. So that is essentially the market opens and either trades up to yesterday's high and finds resistance there, or it tries to trade up to yesterday's high, can't make it, finds resistance prior to there. Both of those are extremely bearish scenarios, which would cause us to look for downside continuation, but then we've also got the balance area low right below us, which is good, strong support. We can see there were buyers just waiting for their chance to get in there, even though all the fear and panic from the CPI was taking place. Those long-term, stronger hand swing traders were still happy to do business in here. So it's probably going to be a day where we just kind of get a rotational day in a tight range down here and go nowhere. What will prove that wrong? What will get us heading one direction or another? Well, first, the gap fill, we always assume we're going to make it all the way to yesterday's low unless we get resistance first. So that's the first target. And if we can get up into yesterday's range, it's bullish for continuation. Or to the downside, if we push below the low from the 30th, right here at 37.41, if we push below there, come back up, find resistance, that would be good for continuation lower. But anything in the middle, I assume we're going to find support here, and I assume we're going to find resistance here. So that makes me think we're going to get some grinding in today's market. All right, so first order of business is the gap fill. Can they get to yesterday's low? Okay, so if we pass back through the open price, that's the first signal that we might have a gap and go, which would be bearish for further downside continuation. Okay, well, there you go. Gap and go, which is bearish. Now, I don't know how far we've got to the downside because we do have lots of support at a balance area low. But right now, the momentum is to the downside because they could not fill that gap. I'll get neutral again if we break above what is currently the A period high. All right, I was early on the bearish call. They're still trying to fill that gap. I will get bearish once again if we pass back through the opening price. Okay, terrible taper at the high, increasing the odds. We need some more trade up here. There you go. Suffice to say, it's very bearish that this is happening as just short covering. What happens if we run out of buyers, run out of these shorts that need to cover, run out of new buyers that are getting in FOMO, and they don't get the gap fill? They will panic out of their longs very, very quickly. So to trust this move, we need the market to pull back down into support and bring in some more buyers down here. Around the 79 level. All right, well, I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm bullish for gap fill. I didn't think they could pull it off, but they've got enough shorts still covering to make it happen. Of course, we'll be looking for resistance up there at 38.05 if they can get it. Gotta love the second you say something, the market goes, nope, fuck off, Charles. Don't you dare. You thought those ticks were going to go above the zero line? No, they weren't. Okay, so now can we turn this area around 79 that was previously resistance? Can we turn it into support? First low volume node backfilled. Okay, second low volume node backfilled, looking for support. All right, well, this large range is annoying, but we got to wait for it to get back below the opening price before we get bearish once again. Of course, if they pass back through that opening again, that's the second attempt to fill the gap that has failed, which is bearish. As a gap and go. Which way do you guys want the market to go? I'll say the opposite, and then it'll go where you want. Do you guys want it to go up or down? Today's my lucky day. Whatever I want the market to do, I just imply that the inverse will happen. Patrick, down, please. You got it. Up. It's going up. Yeah, unfortunately, this is one of those gap fills that it causes major FOMO because you see the size of the range, but there's just no way to trade this until we get to yesterday's low, and then we find out how the market's going to react. Very annoying. If you were really fast this morning and you caught that first burst to the downside, you could have gone long on a pass through the opening price and put your stop below the low of the day for the gap fill, but that trade happened so fast. Other than that, I don't really see an entry here for the gap fill. They made it too hard. So patience, waiting for an entry. Greg H., I suspect the real short covering has yet to begin. 38.05 may bring a burst. I disagree. I think there's resistance at 38.05. What you got to understand is there will have been a lot of FOMO traders who went long just to fill the gap, and they disappear once that gap is filled. You've also at that point retraced most of the move down. So a lot of those shorts that needed to cover that caused that move down will have covered. So I suspect we'll get resistance. But if we can get back up into yesterday's range, yeah, new buyers. Greg makes sense. So maybe settlement 38.23 for short covering. Yeah, I'm just trying to imply I don't think it's short covering. It'll be new buying up there. This is the short covering. It's the short covering that gets us back to yesterday's low. It'll take new buyers to get us higher from there. I don't think there'll be a whole new wave of people who start panicking up there. I think they will have already panicked. Okay, so if this area right here around 37.91, if this now becomes resistance, we'll be looking for the market to pull back down towards the opening price. That momentum is starting to wean. They got the ticks above the zero line and they got slapped right back down. They got good taper on the high. So it doesn't mean that that has to be the high of the day, but that it could be. So if we get resistance now at 91, that will be a sign that we've run out of new buyers to try to fill that gap. Or shorts covering to fill the gap. But it's just a question mark. Gotta wait and see. Kayshawn, POC and value area moving up, good sign for bullishness? No. Value area is completely lower than yesterday. That is bearish. And we have not even filled the gap. So the gap is a sign of momentum. The spike from yesterday is a sign of momentum to the downside. Right? Sorry, let me just zoom out here. So the spike down yesterday, that's a sign that we have momentum to the downside. The fact that we had value overlapping to lower yesterday, it was just barely, but it was overlapping to lower, is a sign of momentum to the downside. So the fact that we gap down today, right, that is confirmation of this momentum in the spike. And the fact that the value is lower is confirmation of the continuation of the momentum. So it's very, very bearish today, unless we can get back up into yesterday's range. Then things can start to get bullish. But right now, all the market-generated information is saying that the momentum is to the downside. And of course, if they can't fill the gap, that is just one more confirmation of that momentum. The heck is going on? Did some piece of news just drop? That tempo changed quick. Okay, so getting that resistance up there at 37.90 increases the odds that the high of the day is in and that we're not going to be able to fill that gap. So now the question is, do we just rotate sideways? Or are we just going to grind around in this range for the rest of the day? Or are we going to break the lows and continue to the downside? All right, NQ looks like it is going to get that gap fill. So we're looking for resistance at yesterday's low, 11,712. Alexandra, what malarkey? They say inflation is over every time it drops, but say inflation is priced in every time it keeps popping. Utter incompetence? Not utter incompetence. That is how it works. That is why for days I've been saying you can't predict what the market is going to do based on a piece of data. It's impossible. Anyone that tells you they can is lying to you. Because the data can be good and the market goes up. The data can be good and the market goes down. And there's no way to know ahead of time which it's going to do. So you can predict whether the data will be good or bad. You could do your research and figure out, when this company releases its quarterly earnings, are there going to be good numbers or bad, but you don't know how the market will react to it. That is completely random. And like you say, if it goes up, they'll say, oh, well, no one expected the good news. And if it goes down, they'll say, well, people expected it, so it was priced in. They always have a story. But the truth is, ahead of time, you just don't know. Why is that, you ask? Why is that, Charles? Why can't markets just be predictable and easy? Because we are the ones trading them, folks. We human. Full of flaws and confusions. We are random AF. And so the market is as well. Okay, resistance at 91 once again. Okay, so now I'm looking to see, does this area around 37.80 become resistance? So this one up here around 37.90 became resistance. We pushed into it multiple times, couldn't get above, brought us down lower. Does this one now become resistance? If so, we should be heading back down towards that opening price. And once again, passing through that is another failed gap fill, which is bearish for continuation to the downside. At the very least, one would assume to test the overnight low. Okay, testing that resistance. Around that 37.80 level, can it hold? CCT. Did I manage to trade today? Nope. Still flat. I'm a little disappointed in myself I didn't catch that gap fill in the A period, or the attempt anyway. But since then, it's been a who knows. Could go either way ball game, so I'm waiting for more information. I will sell resistance if we can get back through the opening price or at the gap fill at yesterday's low. Or I'll buy support if we can get back up into yesterday's range, or if we test the balance area low. But in the middle, I would say this is a gambler's market. As nauseatingly frustrating as it is to say, it would not be unreasonable for us to get another day where we just trade inside the A period just because of the location. Like I said, it's rare that you fill a gap that's this large on the first day, but you also have a balance area low with tons of support just below us here. So you got all the reason in the world to do nothing but grind around for a day. And I'm just really hoping that's not what happens. All right, well, I'm now bearish as long as we can stay under. We haven't had a chance to retest it, but stay under 80 at this point. Obviously, if we push back through there again, I'll be back to neutral. But the higher probability now is that any of the buyers who've been buying in today's range are going to get squeezed below the opening price. Mark, is the A low in any particular reference level? No, it's right at the area where you would expect the market to run out of steam. So if you look back here in the past when we traded down to this area, that's where we found support to rotate all the way up to the opposite end of balance. Came down, tested it again, rotated back up, came down, tested it again, rotated back up. So we've got good, strong buyers that like to do business in this general area, and that's exactly where they created the support last night. All right, so resistance here at the halfback, in my opinion, is sellable if it holds. Electric, would above 82 be a reasonable stop? Yes, it would. If they can get back through 80, pretty much, yeah, if they can get back through 81, then the market is just chopping up and down, and that's where you want to be neutral, looking for a new opportunity. But if we stay below there, we're likely to head down and test that overnight low eventually. All right, testing that resistance. All right, I'm going to stay here just for a minute until we break one way or another. We're pushing right into resistance. Make note of this 78 level. If the market is just going to rotate today, this will probably be where the pin will be. Right where the POC currently is. All right, broke to the upside. MFer. It's going to be a tough day. It's going to be rotational. So if at this point they can get back above the A period high, we look for the gap fill to the upside and then look for resistance, yesterday's low. And as long as they stay below that A period high, chop. Choppity chop. And just desperately hope we don't get stuck inside the A period all day again. With that, I shall bid you all farewell. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to head on over to the private stream for Brigade members only. And we'll solve this puzzle together there. Thanks a lot, guys. I will see you tomorrow morning. It looks like they may be heading up for that gap fill. So, yeah, if they get back above 96, look to test 38.05. And resistance there. If they're able to get back up into yesterday's range, things can start to get bullish.